This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Good afternoon and welcome into 17 News at Noon. I'm Tolly Anderson in for Elena Rusk. The Bakersfield Police Department is investigating a fatal crash that happened early this morning on Coffee Road. Now, preliminary investigations reveal the gardening truck was stopped with the man changing a tire when he was fatally struck by an SUV. A passenger of the gardening truck was transported to the local hospital with moderate injuries. BPD says the driver of the SUV remained on scene and cooperated with officials. Drug and alcohol does not seem to be a factor of this collision, but officials said speed and foggy conditions may have been a factor. But if anyone has any other information, to please call Bakersfield Police Department at 661-327-7111. Now, there was a deadly Christmas Eve fire at the mobile home park in East Bakersfield. The fire broke out in a home at the Edwidge Senior Estates. This according to Kern County Fire Department. One person was trapped inside the home when fire crews arrived. Fire crews were able to knock down the blaze and send a person suffering from smoke inhalation to the hospital, and another person was sadly dead inside the home when the crews found them. KCFD says the mobile home did not have working smoke alarms. And another tragedy struck on Christmas Eve in Bakersfield. That's a double homicide in a usually quiet, upscale Southwest Bakersfield community. Bakersfield police were called to the neighborhood on Snowdon Avenue in Southwest Bakersfield near Old River Road. That's just a mile south of Seven Oaks Country Club. When officers arrived, they located two adult males deceased from gunshot injuries inside the home. Both adult males were in possession of firearms. Investigators were seen coming out of the home with what appeared to be a pink knit hat and even children's toys. Neighbors say they were all in shock and dismay that people were killed in such a violent way on Christmas Eve. And early investigations reveal that the estranged boyfriend of an adult female resident forced entry into the residence while armed with a firearm. Inside the residence, he was then confronted by an adult male, also armed with a firearm, and that is when the fatal exchange of gunfire occurred. The identities of both deceased 30-year-old men have not been released yet. Switching gears here, it's the season for gatherings and parties, and that can often lead to a lot of drinking. Law enforcement wants to remind you, officers are out in full force looking for impaired drivers. Through the New Year's Day, the Bakersfield Police Department will have additional officers on patrol looking for drivers suspected of being under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and the extra enforcement effort is part of the national campaign called Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, more than 11,000 people were killed in car crashes nationwide in 2020, which involved an alcohol-impaired driver. That's equivalent to about one death every 45 minutes. This morning, 3 buses coming from Texas dropped off a large group of migrants near Vice President Kamala Harris's residence on Christmas Eve in Washington, D.C. More than 100 recent migrants, including babies and even young children, arrived near her home in historically frigid temperatures. This appears to be the latest example of an effort by governors in Republican-led states, this including Governor Greg Abbott, busing in migrants to cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. Now, however, immigration activists have criticized the recent drop-off and viewed it as a particularly cruel move due to the freezing temperatures. Local organizations have begun picking up those migrants and bringing them to shelters where there is food and warm clothes for them.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OB/GYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
Travel experts say Americans are poised to travel overseas in a big way this next year. Several COVID-19 fears and pandemic-era border restrictions have eased, and the U.S. dollar also remains relatively strong versus the big international currencies. A recent poll by tourism market research firm Destination Analyst shows 31% of Americans are more interested in international than domestic travel. That was a 6% increase from February and a year-to-date high. A powerful weekend winter storm has killed at least 55 people here in the U.S., and that includes 25 people who died in western New York's Erie County. That death toll is expected to climb. This monster storm stretched from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Rio Grande along the Mexico border. This, according to NBC's tallies, storm-related deaths have been recorded in 12 states, including Colorado, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, New York, Ohio, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and even Wisconsin. A small plane crashed into icy water near Edgewater, Maryland this morning. Emergency crews say the plane crashed into Beards Creek around 10:30 this morning after it went off the runway at Lee Airport. Officials say the pilot was the only person on board the plane, and thankfully 2 kayakers on Beards Creek were able to reach the crash site quickly and pull the pilot out of the freezing water, which likely has saved his life. And the pilot was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of this crash, though, is still under investigations. Switching gears here, hospitals in China are struggling to keep up with new wave of COVID-19 infections. There are reports of emergency rooms turning away ambulances and relatives of sick people searching for open beds. One hospital in Shanghai told its staff last week it prepares for the, quote, tragic battle with COVID as it expects half of the city's 25 million people will get infected by the end of this week. China's Health Commission reported there were more than 390,000 confirmed COVID cases with symptoms last week, but said it's not publishing daily COVID numbers from Sunday because of doubts about the data's reliability. Funeral homes in China are also reportedly struggling to meet demand. The last toys from our 17 Days of Christmas toy drive found their home this weekend. Those toys that our community piled high in our lobby brought to the Boys and Girls Club of Kern County Saturday evening. 300 kids ended up with their very own Christmas gift. All right, here's some good news. Well, maybe. No one won all 6 numbers in Friday night's $510 million jackpot, so that means it is continuing to climb, and the Mega Millions jackpot was won just last October 14th, when tickets sold in California and Florida and shared a $500 million prize. Now, the odds of winning tomorrow night's jackpot are 1 in 302 million. So if you haven't already, go get your ticket because the drawing is at 8 p.m. tomorrow night.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.